Have you ever wondered, is the smartphone in your hand a support tool or a silent manipulator? Every day, from the moment we open our eyes to the moment we fall asleep, our phones are present in every moment of our lives when we work, eat, and even relax. It offers incredible convenience, allowing us to connect, entertain, and get work done in just a few taps. But behind the bright lights of that screen, are we compromising something more important? Smartphones are more than just tools. They are quietly reshaping the way we think, remember, and feel. These effects can be greater than you might think, ranging from altering brain structure to having profound effects on psychology and health. Are you curious to know whether we control technology or technology controls us? The answer may make you rethink how you use your phone every day. According to new research, excessive smartphone use is reshaping the way our brains work, affecting memory, cognition, and even emotional health. It could even be shrinking our brains. Could our dependence on these devices be silently changing the way we think and live? The answer is yes. These negative effects are particularly pronounced in children and adolescents. A study published in 2021 found that excessive screen time during brain development increases the risk of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias in adulthood. We know that these diseases are characterized by atrophy of the cerebral cortex. Remember back in 2008, when Apple's iPhone was a year old, psychologists warned that excessive smartphone use could affect our brains and eventually impair our ability to communicate face-to-face. This seems to be evident in today's society. We often see a group of people gathered together, but each person is focused on their screen, whether they are classmates, close friends, or relatives. This is because the smartphone system is constantly being updated. Most commercial applications, especially video communication and gaming applications, constantly exploit the effects of dopamine in your brain. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter involved in many brain functions, including motivation, reward, and memory. When we complete a task or receive a reward, our brain releases dopamine, which makes us feel very happy and motivates us to repeat the action to continue this feeling. Social media platforms, video apps, and games have designed such a feedback mechanism, including likes, shares, level ups, achievement unlocks, etc. These are complex, well-designed, and constantly evolving mechanisms that keep you constantly satisfied and entertained, which keeps you coming back for more and spending more time on these platforms. Like eating chips and drinking sugary soda, there's a very precise point where you feel like you've had enough and can't stop. The algorithms for short-form video apps and games are even more complex. Even when I wear a small sports bracelet, I find it works completely on this mechanism. Sometimes I wonder, are we living for ourselves or for these little screens? Are humans controlling smartphones, or are smartphones controlling humans? If you're concerned about the impact smartphones are having on our brains, check out today's episode. I'll be looking at it from 4 angles: memory, addiction, cognitive function, and stress. First, about memory. I remember that in the past, there were many things related to work and life that depended on the brain's ability to remember. For example, remember the phone numbers of your relatives and friends. If you can remember them, your brain is a super phone book. If not, you have to look them up in the phone book. Or when writing, if you read books regularly and remember good sentences, you will be able to use them when needed. Speaking of taxi drivers, they didn't have a GPS system before. Their brain was a living map. Numerous studies have shown that consistent memory training increases the size of the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. This not only aids learning, but also helps with emotional processing. However, these days, we are increasingly relying on electronic devices to aid our memory. While they can be helpful at times, over-reliance may not be a good thing. A 2021 study found that excessive smartphone use can reduce the size of the hippocampus, especially in young, developing brains. Similar studies have also shown that people who use their phones a lot tend to have smaller gray matter volume in specific regions of the brain. Reduced gray matter in the brain is often associated with a higher risk of depression, schizophrenia, and dementia. So the less you use your brain and complex systems like contextual memory or cognitive flexibility, the higher your risk of dementia. Once you stop using your memory, the situation gets worse and you become more dependent on electronic devices. Remember that our bodies operate on the principle of use it or lose it. Just like muscles and bones, if you regularly stimulate them with force, they will become stronger and stronger. But if you are inactive for a long time or bedridden, your entire muscles and bones will gradually atrophy, and you may even lose the ability to walk and become dependent on a wheelchair. Additionally, when you use your phone to multitask, such as reading a lesson, working, checking a shopping site, watching a short video, or checking messages, you create a false sense of urgency. It seems like everyone can multitask effectively, but in reality, very few people have this ability. Most people will get distracted and not do anything well. This also prevents the brain from transferring information to long-term memory storage centers and damages their cognitive health. As a result, accumulating memories and forming deep, complex thoughts becomes extremely difficult. Second, smartphone addiction. According to statistics from 2019 to 2023, the average time people spend on their phone screens is increasing. The average time spent on the phone per day has increased from 2 hours 56 minutes to 3 hours 46 minutes, an increase of 23%. Currently, an average user checks their phone 96 times a day. Is it because work and study are getting busier that we need our phones to look up information and support our work? Of course not. Most of the time, people spend using entertainment applications. They are increasingly unable to leave their phones. If you can't stop checking your phone screen for any apparent reason to see if there are new messages, or if frequent phone use causes you to neglect your work, studies, personal health, and hygiene, leading to lack of sleep or insomnia, then you may be addicted to your smartphone or dependent on your mobile device. Although this addiction is not as harmful as drugs or gambling, the mechanism behind it is almost similar. Many smartphone apps today mimic the functionality of casino slot machines, such as the pull down to refresh action, which stimulates the joy of anticipating rewards, creating a dopamine spike that is even higher than the actual reward. This makes smartphone addiction easy to spread on a large scale. Just imagine, if billions of smartphone users around the world were all affected to varying degrees, what would be the end result? Even the creators of the smartphone may wonder if they've created a monster. For this reason, many phone manufacturers have recognized the problem and integrated digital wellness features into their phones to help you control unnecessary screen time. However, this feature requires you to actively activate it. For people who are not aware of this issue, such as children and teenagers, will they automatically turn this feature on? I think it is uncertain. Third, the impact of smartphones on cognitive function. A 2023 study found that when we read on a phone screen, our ability to understand text decreases, even if the content is exactly the same as in a paper book. This phenomenon, known as the screen degradation effect, can have several causes. In a research paper published this year, the authors proposed two main hypotheses. Skimming hypothesis. This suggests that long-term internet use has changed our cognitive habits, making us more likely to skim and scan information rather than read deeply and think carefully. Once you get used to consuming information through short articles or short videos, you will no longer have the patience to read longer texts or watch longer videos. Metacognitive deficit hypothesis. This refers to the fact that when reading on a screen, readers often underestimate their comprehension abilities, unable to devote enough time, attention, and energy to reading the text carefully. In addition, they cannot ignore the constant notifications on their phones. Even when the phone is turned off and placed in a room, it can still affect the brain's ability to process information. This is because the human brain has limits in processing information, and you will always prioritize paying attention to what you think is most important. When your phone is nearby, even when it's not active, it still competes for your cognitive resources. Your brain has to work twice as hard to resist this temptation, reducing your ability to focus on other tasks. Wednesday, the impact of smartphones on stress levels. Fourth, the impact of smartphones on stress levels. Smartphones are not only changing our behavior, they are also affecting our biology, bringing with them greater health risks than you might think. In the past, when using a push-button phone, it was just a tool for calling and texting, and almost no one needed to receive constant notifications. But these days, you get tons of notifications, from little red dots on apps, to pop-up notifications when you open your screen, to alert sounds. Even though 99% of notifications are unimportant, you still can't resist opening them to check and clear that red dot. You have formed a conditioned reflex, like a chick running to the sound of a bowl being knocked on, even though there is no food. Your smartphone has trained your brain to be in a constant state of anxiety and stress. You tap the notification, feel better, and then start waiting for the next notification. This behavior eventually causes your prefrontal cortex to become fatigued and dysfunctional. This is the brain's decision-making and emotional control center. When this function is impaired, your ability to control yourself decreases, leading to increased levels of stress and anxiety. How to use your smartphone responsibly. I am not sharing this to advise you to throw away your phone. In modern society, very few people can live without using a smartphone. It is important to control your usage. Use time management features on your phone. Try to limit your social media usage and short video viewing to less than 60 minutes per day. Turn off or hide all unnecessary notifications. Only take important calls and try to get work done on your computer instead of your phone. Use your memory as much as possible. Limit your dependence on your phone. Avoid multitasking. Focus on one task at a time. Don't use your phone 2 hours before bed and leave it out of the bedroom. Participating in complex sports such as badminton, basketball, swimming, or cycling helps stimulate the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor BDNF, improving memory and cognitive function. If you do these things, you will find yourself focusing more on work and study and improving your relationships with family and friends. Although you may feel bored at times, did you know that boredom is the source of creativity?